So this was a trip I made from Boca de Tomatlan to Colomitos Beach here the 1st of June 2018. I started off on the little malecon they have in Boca de Tomatlan. It's a new construction, more or less. I think it's about a year and a half, maybe. And well, we're going to go through the whole recording. In normal speed, I have a sped up version so that you can go through it in 8 minutes and a half, but this one is a complete one, just at normal speed. You'll hear a few clicks along the way. That's me shooting photos, because I'm a one-man circus. I have to do everything. In this case, I was taking some nice photos for to update the Boca de Tomatlan section, and yeah, I was getting to know this route for the first time too myself. I had heard about it, I had seen a few shots, but I had not been able to do it. So this time I took a longer trip. I was in Vallarta. I think it was about 10 days and some 5 days in Cabo San Lucas. And this is the trip I made. So here I was asking directions, and here I went into the little store to get some water. I cut that off. It's not necessary, but I got too little water. One tip right from the start: take at least 2 liters of water, especially in the summer season, as this one, where it's very hot and the vegetation is not very dense. You'll heat up quite a bit, and you'll lose a lot of water, and you'll need it along the way. At least in my case, because I went all the way to Las Animas. To Colomitos, I think maybe just 1 liter of water would be fine. But then you have to stay there the day, so maybe, I don't know, just take enough to drink. Don't do like I did. I just bought a half a liter bottle of water, and I think that was it, and it was too little. But you'll see that later, because I'm gonna add the section where I go to Las Animas too, because here I went to Colomitos, and then I continued on to Las Animas, the whole route. That's a little longer. I think I'll have to cut it out and cut it in 2 pieces. Here's the place where you turn over the river. You go over the river, turn right along the road. Actually, it's going south. So this is one of the arms of the Orcones River that's arriving at the little Boca de Tomatlan Cove. They have some type of construction here. I didn't understand what they were doing, but anyway, maybe it's part of the bridge. Then you go over this little orange bridge, which I think would be the main arm of the river, I think, because they even have boats there now. Yeah. I've cut a few things off. I think it was mostly the clicks and little extra things that weren't necessary in the original sped up version of the movie, of the trip. Here, yeah, this is the main arm of the river. You can even have boats floating in it. So here you just continue. Now you're on the other side of the river, and then you go towards the sea. Here they have some signs. Actually, you can see there the little wooden sign that says that it's right to get to Colomitos. Sorry. You'll see along the way there's signs, and there's stop places where you can stop and rest spots along the way. That also shows you're on the right path. No? Here there's a lot of people building new houses or making second floors and so on. You'll see that along the way. And here on the left you can see one of these papelillo trees, which are recognizable because of the red color they have. And I've heard they've been called gringos because they're red and they're losing their skin. So anyway, here you continue along the path. There's nothing complicated on this route, on this side of the river. It's actually nice because there's a lot of vegetation. I made this trip, I don't remember if it was I think it was a little bit around 11, 12, midday, I think I started off. Could check that in the file. And yeah, here you just walk along. I'll just shut up for a while. I normally talk along the way, mumble. I lowered the volume a bit because it could be annoying. During the rainy season, which actually started a few days after I filmed shot this little trip, the rain started, and when it starts raining, things go green. There's a lot of vegetation, a lot of leaves that come out, and shade. So I would think it's better to avoid these summer months until the rainy season and then go to Colomitos. But I didn't have a choice.
Voy a cruzar por la playa.
It's a very nice place. It's a little bit rustic and maybe even a bit primitive, but I can see I can understand the appeal of the place. It's very relaxed, birds, a nice beach and cove. I mean, it's a perfect place to retire if you want some type of laid back retirement place. Yeah, families there by the edge of the sea, this nice tree that gives some shade. You can even swim in the sea with a little bit of shade during the warmest hours. It's perfect. I just have to take care of it better. I think there's too many people arriving that are a little bit what would you call it, maybe dirty or not really careful. They make these what do you call them, coal bonfires, and leave the coal residue there, and makes everything look dirty. But in general, it's well kept, even all things considered. They have the path is relatively safe, at least in the beginning. There are parts later on that we'll see that are a little bit testy. You have to be careful, but in general, the start is very good. It's not, of course, not for anyone on wheelchairs, not anybody that's in bad shape, that has ankle issues or knee or back issues. No, don't do it. But anybody else will not have a hard time, at least in the beginning. You can later on turn around if you feel it's too much, but the start is easy enough, which may be negative because people will start off and then won't want to come back. But here I was in doubt if I had to jump over the wall or what. But then I could see there was this path here to the side. Because you've been walking along the edge all along, and then suddenly it stops. You have to go up over this house or whatever it is. It's a little like maybe a what do you call this? Where you could anchor your boat. Then I found this man here. I cut the conversation off, but it was somebody that lives there in this house, actually, the orange one. And he asked me if I had enough water, and talked a little bit about how warm it was, because it was actually a very warm week. And I don't know how it continued later on. After when I took off the 7th of June. I could imagine it continued, but then it started raining. No, now I know. Yeah, it was very hot the week before, and then it started raining just I think 1 or 2 days before I took off. So it must have cooled down, and then the vegetation and the rivers and everything must have cooled the city down to a more normal temperature. But at that time it was very warm. Once again, take enough water along. I'm puffing along here. And there's this sign here with rules and so on. Didn't take the time to read it because I can read it from the images I took. Some very nice houses here. Put some real effort in their housing. I'm not sure if they rent it out. It's just a retirement home. It's a little bit over the top. Photo here. What was I taking? Who knows what I was shooting there?
Ánimo. ¿Está pesado? O se resbalan las manos. Ese es el problema.
So here, it's a nice little bridge here. Make it a rule to greet people in town and in these small towns especially, because they're accustomed to that. I mean, it's actually when I lived in Guadalajara in the early, mid-90s, people there would greet you on the street too. Found it strange because it was a very big city, but people would do that, and that's how they do it in towns. So it was very nice social environment that's created when people actually recognize their existence and greet each other and maybe even talk a little, no? And that's good to maintain. I mean, it's healthy and it's good, and it's something that we miss, and we actually pay the price for not keeping. So be respectful of the locals and greet them and smile and be another one of the good locals, as long as you're there at least. Here there were a lot more houses, but there was also a more defined path to follow. So it's very nice. I think people here have done a good job of both developing the area and keeping it nice too. I like the way they did it. They have these. Further along, you'll see some nice paths that they built. This is the first hanging bridge you cross over. It's a very basic one. It was a little scary. I want to take a photo. Okay, thought I was scared to go over. Not much of a photographer, but I do my best. This was all shot on a GoPro 6 with a stabilizer gimbal that's called a Feiyu 5. I think might need to make an upgrade because well, that's another story. I trashed the poor thing on one of the trips. Actually, the first trip, I fell from a boat and bashed it on the ground, but it did all right. I mean, it survived, but it has some issues at times. Well, let's see, where are we? We're still in the bay area. We haven't we can still see Boca de Tomatlan from here if we turn backwards and look over your shoulder, but very soon we'll go over the edge of the hill, which is the end of the bay, and then end up going into the very dry jungle at the moment. This is looks very nice. You sort of feel like you're going into somebody's home, but it's made so you can walk through. But it looks, I think they use it as a sun, what do you call that? Sun terrace at times. But it almost feels like you've gone into somebody's property. I can imagine they even wanted to wall it off at some point, but they weren't able to. Yeah, there you can see on the rock it says Colomitos. And then you continue along the way, and you have this. This is the first resting stop. Along, I had a little conversation with the guys here, but I cut it off. There's a little sign there. I'm talking about the Colomitos beach that at some point the year before in January I had visited the place, and they had built this big palapa right on the Colomitos beach, and it almost was overwhelmingly large compared to the small little beach. So here, while I was talking, one of the locals, expat, I can imagine, because it doesn't look very much like a local Boca de Tomatlan citizen, but she passed me by, and I was impressed. She was walking with these sandales. What do you call those? Sandals, just normal rubber sandals. I said I was going to do the whole trip to Colomitos in those sandals. Had her little dog along, but no, she wasn't going all the way. So, but I was sort of surprised. Me with these heavy hiking shoes, and she just puttering along with her sandals. So anyway, I just took it easy, especially going uphill. And get some nice views where you can stop along the way. There's this tree that's over the path that has even a little sign. I could look it up in the photos. There I mentioned the name. Yeah, let me try to find that photo while we're going here. The sign, that's my son there in the background. Have some photos here. Right. So a few photos. Let me see. Here it is. I think I have the sign here. Here it is. No, that's not the one. There's that. I found the name of the what do you call it? The tree. It was the one that was over the path. It said Guachumillo. Anyway, here we can see we're arriving in the better paths. At some point, I was doubtful if I was on the right road, which road it was, but I just followed along, and it actually was the right way. But it's a lot of stairs. So once again, no knee issues, no ankle issues, and you need to be in relatively good shape. You can take it easy, of course, but you don't need to have any type of what do you call those? Ankle or joint pains, no? You'll hear me huffing and puffing. There we go. But it was very, very hot, and I was now noticing I didn't have enough water, so I wouldn't drink it. Wasn't drinking enough either. So here we're about almost 20 minutes in the trip, and we start then walking over the edge of Boca de Tomatlan, the edge that goes out into the sea and then moves back in with the bay. Let me just check that on the map. So yeah, there's the sign that clearly says which road you have to take. Let me just check Boca de Tomatlan so I can really see it on the map. I should have done that before starting off. But yes, you reached sort of a curve where you start going inwards. You sort of lose the cove area, mostly because you go inland. If you look at it in the map, it doesn't look that long. It doesn't look that it's as if it were very long, but it is quite a bit of a trip. But here we have another rest stop. Puff, puff. We're gonna reach the end of the first piece of the trip I have on built. I'll stick them together later on when I learn to do that, or maybe I'll have it in two pieces. I think I'll put it in two pieces. So this will be the end of the first piece. That's about 23 minutes long. And I'll continue in the second piece with the rest of the hiking through the jungle, but mostly arriving at Boca de Tomatlan. So that'll be the end of this will be the end of part one, and it's a good 23 minutes long. That's enough, and we'll continue with the second part, and then later on with the complete trip to Las Animas, which will be interesting for some, just so they know what to expect. See you in the next part. Hi there. This is the second part then of the long form video of the trip I made, the hiking trip I made between Boca de Tomatlan in the southern part of Puerto Vallarta and Colomitos Beach, which is a very small but beautiful beach in the just south of Boca de Tomatlan. The normal way is just to go on a water taxi, but there is this nice hike through the jungle and along the edge of the bay that'll take you to the beach too, and it's there for the more adventurous group of visitors. It's fun, it's nice, and it's even nicer when it's not the dry season as it is here in the video. In any case, as you can see, there are some details along the way. I mean, I don't know how it is exactly right now, but this was in June of 2018, and there are some places where the what do you call it, the handrails have fallen off, and there are pieces of at least, and even more later on when you go to Las Animas from Colomitos, where you sort of it's not the most user-friendly of the paths, but it's to Colomitos is pretty good. There are some some places where you have issues. No, that was that's a bonete, the jacaranda, Mexican jacaranda, I think. And anyway, this is the real-time video of the complete trip from Boca de Tomatlan to Colomitos. So here we can see a few trees that have fallen on the road. I think it has something to do with a storm that went through the area a little before June, but it's not. They're not in the way. And here you can see another one of the handrails gone, and a resting spot where you can see that it shows you your location, how much you're missing to Colomitos. In this case, it was you're a bit under 2/3 of the way. It's Boca de Tomatlan is 740 meters back. That would be about, what is that, 2,200 feet. And there's missing 440 meters to get to Colomitos, which would be some 1,300 feet, 400 and yards approximately, a little bit more, no? So there are some signs along the way showing you just how far you've gone, and that helps a bit, so you know where you are and how much is missing and how much energy to save and how much water to drink and so on. So it's good that there's some people that have taken care of this trail and are keep you advised at least, no? So here as I mentioned, no, this is a shot done a few days before the rain started, so it's the driest I would think you can find this trail, no? You see there's small signs along the way helping you guide yourself. That's another tree I shot there. What was that? I have the photos here that I'm scrolling through. That one was Anonillo, it's called. Annona reticulata, whatever that is. I mean, it seems it's a well-known tree. That's why they have the signs on. And well, as I was mentioning, it's the driest you'll find the trail. Normally, it's greener, and you'll have a denser tree. What would you call it? Denser vegetation, so you'll have more shade. But in this case, it was rather open and dry and hot, very hot. You'll hear me puffing along the way, as I've already mentioned. So, and that's mainly the heat, not so much that I was carrying a heavy load or anything, or bad shape. No. So here we start arriving at a place where there are more fences, and I made a mistake here along the way. I took a wrong turn, and it ended up in the backyard of somebody. But it's not yet. It's not. That house there was like falling apart, and there's signs asking you to take your garbage. Of course, that's a good idea. Never leave garbage behind. Take it back with you. There might be some garbage cans somewhere, but I would recommend just taking them along, because I don't think they come and pick up the garbage very often here in this area. So just take it with you. And yeah, here you're sort of seeing more signs of people. There's electricity lines. Those go to the, what do you call it? In the past, it was called Ocean Grill, but now it's reopened a little while ago. It has a new name. I'm not sure what the name is right now, but it opened up again. That's great. I mean, we'll have some place to eat there and drink. Hopefully, they're not as snobbish as the one before, because they wouldn't let you go there without a reservation. But here's some signs showing you the way. Somebody's selling a lot of land here. Want to buy it? Want to buy? It'd be nice, no? But it's just so far from every place. I mean, you'd have to ride by boat, walk up the trails. Be complicated, but it'd be wonderful. Anyway, here we're arriving in the area where I made the mistake, no? But there is a sign there showing straight out, no? Colomitos. So you continue. I'm still on the right trail here. And then I make a turn here. Let me see. Turn here. Yes, that's... And I think the path was there to the right, and I'm going here to the left. And it's here that I made the mistake, no? And that was just a panoramic shot I made there. That's why I cut it off. And here you walk along. This is the same trail I took to the left, and it's a wrong trail. Don't take it. Take the right there. Actually, no, there is a right trail, because later on I caught up with a few guys that I had met in prior on the path, no? And they arrived a little later than I, but that's because they took this other route. So here I went under the fence there, and now I'm in the backyard of somebody. I thought I really didn't think much about what I was doing there. I thought it was the right trail. I mean, I said, it's weird that there's this barbed wire here in the way, but I didn't stop to think I had taken a wrong turn. Huh? Should have gone back. Anyway, here I'm walking along in the backyard of somebody. There's satellite dish there, and then I arrived here on this edge of a little hill, and there was no way down. There was actually just there was I stumbled down. There was this edge they had with a few plants, and then the plants had this flat area, so I used them as stepping stones downwards. But I still slid down the hill, and yeah, at some point I mentioned that I took a wrong turn. Anyway, now you can see the Colomitos. You're at least, you're almost there. Here I'm sliding down the hill. Sorry about the shots; they weren't the best because I was there fighting for my life. That was stupid. But anyway, I mean, not everything is as you expect. Okay, so now I'm on the trail. The trails the house owners have made. No, there was nobody there, so nobody came out to shoot at me or throw me out. Nobody to guide me either. That would have been helpful. So anyway, here's the beautiful Colomitos there, like a jewel in the middle of a dry jungle. No, it's incredible. So anyway, had a few different photo angles you normally wouldn't get because you'd arrive on the side of the Ocean Grill restaurant. Now it's, as I said, the ex-Ocean Grill restaurant. You can see they've been taking care of some fallen trees here too, and they're working on the properties. Maybe that's why there's nobody there. They're just in repair. Wow. Breathtaking. Get a panoramic view here. Have to process those photos later on. I have a few that I've placed in the article, a few new ones. I'll also be adding this video, of course, to the Colomitos section so people can walk through the whole trail if necessary, just so they know it's possible or they don't want to do it. And here I figured out I couldn't get out unless I jumped over or through the side of this fence, so that's what I did. Plop. Okay, so now I'm out. Luckily didn't get in trouble for that. So here's the last few steps before you arrive at the beach. It was relatively calm. I mean, it's normal that there's a few boats that arrive at certain times, and they bring quite a few people along, say 10, 15 people, and they start jumping in the water and screaming and swim to the beach and so on. It immediately starts feeling crowded, the place, because it's so small. But this time when I arrived, it was just a few people, all relaxing as it should be, enjoying the waves. It's really nice to see. You just jump in and just float there, relax, and feel really like you're in paradise. Very close, no? It's as close as you can be, almost. Bring some beers along, some food, stay a few hours. There are no bathrooms there, well, just so you know. Now that the restaurant's there, you might be able to figure something out. That'd be cool too. That'll make the trip nicer too. Anyway, this is these are the stairs where you actually had to walk out if you had you taken the right path. And here I meet the guys that had been along. I had seen along the way. They arrived through the right path. So it's not everyone that's stupid enough to take the wrong path down. Okay, so I took my time there in Colomitos, made some shots, some general shots, the beach, of the bay. Went over closer to the Ocean Grill that's now called Ocean Live and Love Grill or something, but it's still sort of the Ocean Grill. And now I'm making a few last shots before I start the trip to Las Animas, up the stairs here. These stairs then take you over the hill on the way to Las Animas. I'm gonna make some few panoramic shots here, some stops along the way. I hope you enjoy the view. And we'll be stopping along a few beaches along the way, at least getting some shots of them. The first one will be called unofficially Playa Escondida. I haven't found any real official name. It's the same name they gave the beach that's in a cave and the Marietas Islands, so it can create confusion. But I haven't found any other official name for it, so we'll just use that one for the time being. So up the stairs, stopping along the way, taking a few shots from the west side of Colomitos. There's these guys in the water there that I greet because they're the same guys I met along the way. And so up the stairs. Here you can see Colomitos. There I'm greeting. You can see Colomitos from the hill and back, but only because it's the dry season. This would be covered with leaves. You'd have a very small window there you could see watch through in the greener part of the year. This is as I had mentioned someplace, is the 1st of June, and it's the driest part of the dry season just before it starts raining. A few days later there was a small rain, and then later on the 6th, 7th of June it really started raining. Here I stopped to take a shot of a little red bug. They're very nice. Found them later on in Jorullo in large quantities. They're these red, I think they're Coleopteros, Coleoptera would be the name in English. And they love fruits. Anyway, there I'm taking another shot of them. In the background, you can see some guys jumping off the ship there, that cruise, bay cruise, and these views of the bay of the sea are impossible other than in the dry season. So I was mentioning the stairs are well kept here in this part. It's obvious that there's somebody behind them. I speculate it must be people that either live here in this area or travel up and down the coast regularly, that have taken the time and effort to build this path. It's a remarkable job. It's a lot of work, and it's sort of well kept and sturdy because it's withstood. I can see it's withstood the weather and rains and so on. There's some parts that are now in this section of the trip a little bit dangerous, so I would not recommend taking small kids along. Only kids that are children that are accustomed to hiking and that are careful, because there's some parts here, for example, right here, there's a railing that fell off, and if you take a wrong step, you fall off a rather high hill, rocky rocky cliff. That's even worse, no? So this part is not dangerous, for example, but right there by the rocks, yes. And later on you'll see another section here that's rather dangerous, and you find them along the way, mostly here in the beginning. And so there's somebody taking care of this thing. There's a wall. You can see a wall built there, and that took a lot of effort, cement, and I wonder who did it. If anybody knows, tell me please. I'd like to mention them within the videos, maybe have a link if they have any type of site where they receive support or sponsorship. It'd be nice to know. Anyway, I appreciate their efforts. It would be impossible if not. It would be impossible to do this hike if not. It would be incredibly difficult. So here I'm walking along the edges here. It's you can see it's very dry, all the leaves on the ground. That makes it even clearer that it's a dry season. And we're getting a little bit closer to the first beach. Let's see, along the edge here. Now you start going down a bit, makes it a little less dangerous. I was rather, I was a little bit, what do you call it? A little tired, maybe, with the effects of dehydration. I wasn't drinking enough water because I had very little in reserve. So I was not drinking enough. And up we go. This part is also much harder on the knees and legs. So you need to be careful. Here, for example, that's a cliff there. There's no side rails. I'm taking it easy, walking carefully. And here, there's some parts where the railing fell off, and you see there's these little small bridges that look a little bit rickety. So be careful. Check this if it's sturdy, strong. Don't lose your grip or footing, and it'll be all right. I mean, but it's not a place to fool around. You have to concentrate and do things in a mature way. No fooling around. It can be dangerous. So I have my little blue microfiber towel that I'm using along the way. You can see that at times. So anyway, I like this trip. I want to do it again, but this next time would be nice with somebody else and with enough water and a little bit of food, which I did not bring this time around either. So, and stop along the way, enjoy the small little beaches instead of just doing it all in one go. This is, I'd say, the last little ridge before starting down towards the Playa Escondida. And if anybody knows the official name, tell me. I think it's the one that appears on Google Maps. I'm not sure just how researched the name is. I've heard it before and mentioned with regard to Colomitos, so I think it's more or less official. I haven't figured it out yet. So yes, here you can see it's we're starting to go downwards, closer to the edge, closer to the beach. Here seeing the last remnants to the east of the hidden beach, Playa Escondida. Start going down towards the edge. It's rocky, but the color of the water is impressive. I like the emerald green color of the seas in this part of the country, Mexico. And it's much stronger within the Bay Area. The emerald green has to do with the sand, of course. For example, in Sayulita, because the sands are sort of grayish, the water tone doesn't go up. It doesn't get so strong in the emerald green. No? Take a breath here in the shadow. You need a hat. Don't forget that. Sunblock. Put an extra layer every hour or half hour, depending on how much you're sweating. That'll help you get through the trip, especially at this time of day. You can maybe make have a nicer trip during the morning hours. It'll be little less sun. Maybe in the later afternoon, after 5 o'clock, where you have the sun closer to the horizon. That would also be a nice time of the day to do it, to make the trip. Here we're following along the edge of the small pieces of beach, of hidden beach. The small segments. You see here over the edge here downwards. A lot of boats going by in the sea. Those are the water taxis shuttling people from Boca de Tomatlan to Colomitos to La Troza to El Caballo to Las Animas, and further south to the beaches like Quimixto, Majahuitas, Yelapa, and maybe even further south, which I have plans in the future of traveling to the smaller towns in the south part of the Banderas Bay, like Tabo and Chimo. Those will be fun to visit, though it's 2 hours by boat, and there's no other way to access the area, so there's no way around a long boat trip. Maybe even have to stay there. So here's the hidden beach, Playa Escondida, the biggest part of it. It appears marked as such in Google Maps. It's bounded on both sides by rocks. You can see on the western side towards Las Animas, there's a path that follows along the edge of the sea. On the right side, you can't access from the sea, as you just noticed. Follow a path up through the hill. So here I go back up onto the path and follow along the edge of the sea. The next beach is what I've researched and found is called Playa Majahuillas. In the Google Maps, it appears with a strange Jacamilla or something like that. Jacamilla. It's a wrong name, of course, but somebody placed it in Google Maps. Jacamilla, yeah. And that's now the unofficial name, but the real name is Majahuillas, and it's related to Majahuitas, which is the other beach further south. Related in the fact that it's based on the name of a tree, a majahua. Majahua is the tree that gave the name to Majahuitas and also to this smaller beach. So around it there must be majahua trees, or they were in the past. I don't know. I'm not an expert in Mexican vegetation, so I won't be able to help. That's a view of the hidden beach, Playa Escondida. You can see there was a path laid out in the past, but it's been washed away. Even so, it's just as easy to walk over the sand. No problem. At least depending on the tides. Maybe when it's high tide, you end up walking through the sea, through the water. Anyway, I'm catching up with a few hikers, suffering along the way. I can see here there was also sort of a path that's been washed away. You can see there was a little bridge or something, much easier to cross instead of going over the rocks. Excuse me. And off we go. Up, and then up to the hill. This starts following along the edge of the hill on the way to Majahuillas. But I think Majahuilla, you pass by sort of in the distance. You don't really go down to the beach, I think. We'll see. I don't remember exactly. A little panoramic view. I made this trip one way. I went to Las Animas and then took the water taxi back directly to Los Muertos beach, to the pier. Could imagine people that like hiking would do the trip back again, but I suffered enough on the way to Las Animas that I didn't feel like going back by land. Next time I'll do it. I'll even go to Quimixto, all the way to Quimixto on the path. I've been checking it out. It looks like a viable hike. So on we go. I think I'm drinking some water here. Off we go. See some bricks there, cement bricks. Somebody's gonna build something there, or it's material to that they use to fix the path from time to time. In any case, now we'll soon be arriving by La Trosa. So we continue up the hill, over this hill, going towards Playa La Trosa, which has a little development there, like a small villa, hotel, boutique. I'm not sure. I haven't really checked them out. Let's see what they say about La Trosa. Beach Resort, it's called. La Trosa Beach. Trosa Secluded Boutique Resort. It's actually quite secluded, yes. So, here we're going along the edge. Nice photos they have here. Okay, so we're going along the edge here. Some big rocks. I think you can see it here in Google Maps. It's actually a little house there in the middle of the hill. I think it's a little bit further up. Anyway, looks a little bit more open, more affected by humans, not so natural here. I think it has to do with this house they're trying to build. Wonder why they have this flat area here. It's a little strange, but anyway, I think it's related to the fact that there's this resort relatively close by. They've made this area a little bit more interesting for development. See a little bit of a house here. Looks more like a deposit. Well, it is going to be a small little house. Might be the one you can see here in Google Maps. It's a lot of work getting the material here. They bring it by sea. Be a big boat. Otherwise it'll take forever. Then bring it up the hill. Two little houses here. Could be like a little bit of a development. A hotel or something. And they have these plastic thingamabobs. Those they put underground. I mean, under the dirt, and plant grass on them normally. Maybe they're gonna put some grass here. That'd be strange. Being in the middle of the jungle, what you least want is grass. When you're in a jungle, you use the local vegetation in your favor. You bring external plants anyway. Here's the little sign saying Las Animas. I'm catching up with a few other hikers. I think because I was a little bit short on water, I took the trip relatively. I made it as fast as possible. Less chance of fainting along the way. So here we're going down the hill, yes, and we're arriving then at the beach of La Trosa. La Trosa Beach is called. And the resort, this beach resort, is called in honor of the beach itself. No, La Trosa. Beach and what was it now? Beach and hotel, what was it? Beach resort. La Trosa Beach Resort, secluded boutique hotel. Anyway, they have a nice path here, obviously prepared for their visitors, not for the hikers. Excuse me. Anyway, here's the beach. It's not much of a beach though. And you can see there's a lot of rocks. They have a little area there with sand, and these beaches and that's what I've noticed in general. The beaches here in the Banderas Bay area, they evolve over time. Sometimes they're rocky, sometimes they're sandy, sometimes they're wide, sometimes, of course, taking tides into account. Sometimes they're wide, sometimes they're not very wide, narrow, and it all depends on the seasons and the currents and the storms and whatever affects the edges of the bay, and you never know. Los Palmares, for example, was a wonderful beach, wide, with no rocks whatsoever in what was it, 2017 when I came by. And then before that, in 2012, it was fine. And then there was a storm that went through, a hurricane, and the whole beach became rocks. And then it became fine in 2017. Now when I went in 2018, it was rocky again. There were areas with sand and so on. So it really changes over time. And La Trosa might have had a lot of sand and now is sort of rocky, but that's just how it is. It changes over time. There's some beaches that are more affected than others, and I would think they're the ones that are more, what would you say, sort of artificially created. When you create an artificial beach, it won't last over time. And some other places, for example, in Garza Blanca, it was ugly, rocky. They made this water break, what do you call it, like a water wall, and now it's full of sand and it's quite nice, a little artificial bay they created there. So you can have these variations, evolution in the beaches themselves. Even though you find them nice once, they might not be as nice next time around. So this is La Trosa, the boutique hotel. The boutique hotel that I mentioned, and is named based on the original name of the beach itself. So here you follow along the edge of the development, and then you continue on the path. Some other hikers coming the other way now. I imagine they're coming from Las Animas, visiting this area here. Yes, they're on a visit. Maybe they're from the hotel itself, and they went to Las Animas for a little visit. I think that's the most obvious way to go. The people that arrive in Las Animas are not really interested in moving eastward. They just stay on the beach for most. Maybe visit El Caballo Beach, but otherwise they don't go much further than that. So we're going along the edge towards. Now the next stop is called Maraica, Casitas Maraica. Here you follow along the edge of the beach and along the rocks on a small path right on the edge between the jungle and the rocky beach, and you end up arriving at a two small little beaches separated by some boulders, which is the beach that's right beside the Casitas Maraica. A very nice little boutique hotel also. They're known for their yoga retreats and so on. So it's a nice little place. In my case, it was my pit stop. I didn't know at the time I was suffering here. All dried up. Now you can see me using my little microfiber towel and suffering. So I didn't know at the time how far it was because I'd never done the trip, and I actually didn't print out a map. That would have been smart. And so now I'm thirsty, very thirsty, hot, very hot, and miserable. So anyway, I made my first pit stop there in Casitas Maraica. It had a little bar. It was wonderful. I'll tell you about that when I get there.
No sé. Sí, son las Casitas Maraica. Ah, qué maravilla. I am happy. This is where I wanted to be.
All these lands are what they call terrenos ejidales. Those are lands that were given over to either communities or groups of farmers. In this case, groups of Indians. And the Chacala Indians were given these lands in concession. I mean, it's theirs to use. And in this case, the Indian communities that are based up in, I think it's in Mascota, someplace around there, El Tuito, sorry, they then control the use of the land, and they give out concessions normally for 5 or 10 years, maybe longer if you're important. So you can use the land and develop whatever you feel upon it, but whenever they feel like pulling out of the contract, they keep whatever's been built on the land. So you're sort of just renting the land out, and whatever you develop there is not yours in the end. That's happened to a few people along the way, that they end up getting, they don't get their concession renewed, and they lose everything they've developed. No? So you won't find big hotels and very sturdy buildings and so on, because it's not theirs in the end. It's the Indian community's property. It's a little like you would do. You wouldn't modify a house too much if you were just renting it. So that's how it works here in these lands, all the way down to Yelapa and further on. So here we're arriving at Casitas Maraica, and oh, good for me, I see that they have a little bar. I didn't go to drink. It says hiking speed. They have 3 for 2 margaritas or whatever. So I arrived here and I drank 3 lemon juices, or agua de limón, as they call them in Mexico, in a row. 3 big half a liter lemon juices, and relaxed a bit, and off I went then. Now, with my tank full, towards Las Animas. So here we're going out. There's a little path, well-groomed path, cemented at times, going over the little hill here, and over to what we will see here on the other side, Playa El Caballo. El Caballo Beach, or the horse beach. The explanation I've received is that people would make horse trips from Las Animas over to El Caballo, but I think it must have some other explanation. Maybe it
Yeah,
looks like a
that's
horse.
okay.
Something looks like a horse, but
Para-
I've not been able to to figure out what they're trying to say with the name. But here it is. Here's Playa El Caballo. El Caballo Beach, very beautiful, small little beach. The waves were a little bit strong that day, or this the 1st of June when I visited. I'm not sure if it's always like that, but it looks a little to be a little bit more. What would you say? The waves seem a little much stronger than in Las Animas. So if you're into swimming and if you have kids, this may not be the beach for them. It's more of a beach that you can walk along and enjoy the sun maybe, but not for swimming. I wouldn't recommend it, at least not based on what how I've seen it. No, I think in general it does have quite a bit more waves than the area in Las Animas. So if you want to swim, if you want to snorkel, sand castles, and have if you're visiting with your kids, it's best to stay in Las Animas for those activities. But so it's a nice walk. I'd visit it anyway even with my kids, but wouldn't go into the water other than maybe just what do you say, float a little bit around on the edge and cool off, but not swimming. In Google Maps it appears as Playa El Caballo. No, Playa Caballo, but it is officially Playa El Caballo. I'll send them what do you call that? An update of the name, see if they approve it. But the official name is Playa El Caballo. You can see there's very few people here. And at the end of the beach, here you can see some what do you call them? Parasols? Beach umbrellas. Those are from Hotelito Mio. It's another little hotel, boutique hotel. That's what you call all small hotels nowadays, boutique hotels. When you're very small, you just put a boutique in your name, and now you're good to go. Good to go. Hotelito Mio is. And look, we call it Playa Caballo Resort. They say they skip the L. So now I'm going to have a hard time convincing people that the official name is El Caballo. But that's how it is in the literature. In the older books, in the reference books, it's Playa El Caballo. I've heard all the variations, of course. And it seems these guys didn't really research that much. So they went into Google Maps and saw it was called Playa Caballo. Okay, now it's Hotelito Playa Caballo Resort. So it's a boutique hotel too, and have a nice website too. I mean, imagine living in a place like this and having an ugly website. I mean, you really have to make an effort to get ugly photos and ugly footage in a place like this. It's actually that way in all of Vallarta. I feel myself now that people say, "Oh, those nice photos you shot." I mean, it's impossible to get ugly photos. You really have to make an effort to get ugly photos in a place that looks so lovely no matter where you turn. So anyway, they have a nice website, and they're right. This is the last little peninsula between Playa El Caballo and Las Animas. They have this Hotelito Mio here, and yeah, the waves, they're all right. I mean, but further on they're a little stronger, I think. In this case, they're all right. I wouldn't be that worried going in a little bit in the water. But with kids, smaller kids, maybe not. Anyway, there's some rocks there on the way. You can see in the sea itself. You can see some rocks over there. Might be interesting to visit them for snorkeling in that area. You can see in Google Maps also that it's sort of rocky under the water. There must be a lot of sea life there. Have a section on scuba diving, and they mention an area that's sort of in this general location, so it might be a good place to visit if you're into scuba diving. So this is a path that bypasses the Hotelito Mio and takes you over to Las Animas. So we're in the last, what would you say, last 5 minutes of the hike, and it'll be over. In general, when you see it, when you go through this footage and have it cut up in sort of by beaches, the trip itself becomes much shorter because you're sort of you have steps along the way. But when you're doing the trip without any information beforehand, it can become a little bit. And you start worrying, you don't feel you're getting anywhere. So it's important to. I think that's the good side of having this type of footage, is that you can see the trip beforehand, and you can plan better your water stops, your what you want to eat, and you also know how far you are from your destination, so you can take things in. Take it easy now at times, and don't feel you don't lose faith, and you sort of know where you're going, and you can pace yourself. So it's good. I think it's a good thing to go over footage like this one and plan your trip and know what you're going into, and see if you're going to be able to do it too, because if you see all those steps you need to climb, and the rough what would you call it, landscapes you go through, and you don't feel like it, then you know beforehand, and you don't have to waste your time now and be disappointed about the trip. So anyway, there we're out of Delito Mio, and there wasn't like another path there, but this is the official path. So I followed along. You go into more old-fashioned, or what do you call them, traditional, a little bit rough no, it's not a rough neighborhood, but there's sort of very basic housing, Mexican housing. These areas are a little bit, I would say, impoverished. They all depend on tourism, but they have a little. They have their patio there, their dogs, and music. Of course, you'll always hear music, loud music. They're not into the silence. I think they don't really enjoy the calm sounds of the jungle. Not like I, at least. Anyway, you go through the backyards of some of these houses, and they're not in the best shape. And just around the bend here, right around the bend here, you'll start seeing Las Animas. There it is. So, after about an hour and 10 minutes, an hour 13, based on the video, we're arriving at Las Animas. If we cut off the footage from Colomitos and do it all in one, I think you can push it down to around an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes, and you're arriving at Las Animas. So that's at a good pace. There are people that can do it faster. There are people that, as you could see along the way, there were some that were doing it a little slower. But that's more or less between an hour and 10 minutes and an hour and a half. Should be enough to get from Boca de Tomatlan all the way to Las Animas. Now we're on the beach. This beach is, as I mentioned, part of a Chacala Indian land concession, ejidal, terrenos ejidales. In the past, there were very few houses here and a few restaurants that received visitors in the bay cruises. One of the first houses is the one a little bit further down the beach here, called Casa Guillermo. I think it might be in honor of Bill Reed. Bill is William, no? And William is Guillermo in Spanish. So Casa Guillermo was one of the first houses built. Here you can see an old shot of the house. I looked in the past. You can see that you can more or less see what the old house it was like compared to the new one. You can see on the comparison. It's right here, right beside Casa Guillermo. And those houses were all, as I said, built with the understanding that it was not yours. That it was to become part of the Indian lands whenever they decided to take away the concession or when you died and so on. So the lands were not yours. Whatever you built on the land was not yours. And I don't really know how they do it nowadays. I think it would be the same. I don't think they'd lose control over the lands or want to lose the properties if they can avoid it. So you can see here there was high tide. The sea is very high up on the edge. There's almost no beach, or no beach in parts like here. But it's very nice. When the tide is a little lower, it's even nicer. At this point in time, it was rather high. So here I'm going along the edge of all the restaurants. There's the first one was Pichon. Then there's the conos. I mean, the first one is the conos. They have like 2 cone palapas on top of the roof. Then there's the one Pichon that we're going through now. And then there's El Caracol, which is, I think, the last one. Pichon has, no, Pichon, yes, I think it's this one. They were arranging the palapa. They have like a sign on top of the palapa, we call that a lona in Spanish, printed sign on top. And then I'm getting closer and closer to the pier, which is, I would say, more or less halfway along the beach, where you would arrive in the water taxis if you travel here directly. There's some nice restaurants. These ones are good to eat at. Fresh seafood, good quality. As long as you stick to the seafoods, you'll get good food. I'm not convinced meat is a good option here. So here people are arriving at the pier. Here on the left you can see a stand. They normally sell fresh oysters there. They're very recommended. Right at this moment in time there's only the fruit stand. I ate a mango with some tunas and guayabas. It was very good. Here's El Coral. It's a little restaurant bar too. They were closed that day, but there was somebody there anyway. I had a drink and they have showers, a bathroom, so you can just relax there after your hike from Boca and enjoy the beach, go out for a swim, maybe snorkel. I did that. It's nice, a great place to do that. Anyway, I hope you liked this long hike from Boca to Las Animas. Comment on it, share it. Thanks for watching.